Hi there, and welcome to this lesson. Now, in this lesson, we'll be learning about basic arithmetic, and we'll be learning approximation. Okay, and at this point, I'd remind you to set the video to play in 1080p HD. Okay, and you can do so via the settings icon on the bottom right. And as the lesson progresses, if you have any issues at all with any of the principle or any of the concepts, if anything comes off as unclear, please feel free to get in touch. Okay, you can do so via the course dashboard. Okay, so approximation, let's jump right into the lesson. Now, what are approximations? Okay, now an approximation is a value that's similar but not exactly equal to a given number. Okay, for example, I could tell you to count the number of students in a school, okay, and or let's say the number of people in a marketplace, and basically you'd go there and you'd say, maybe let's say after when you do your counting, you get about 2,100 or 2,074 people. Okay, and I ask you how many people are in that market at the moment, and you tell me about 2,000 people. Okay, you just give me an estimate. Okay, and sometimes we prefer to work with estimate than exact numbers. All right, or I could ask you to go to a school and tell me how many students are in that school. You count the number of students, and let's say there are about 392. And I ask you how many students are there. You say roughly 400 students. Okay, and that's pretty much what approximation is about. Basically, just giving a rounded of value, a very round value. Okay, when I say round value, usually in multiples of 10, multiples of usually in multiples of 10, pretty much. And yeah, that's pretty much what approximations are about. So there are several things we need to learn about approximation. Okay, or when we want to approximate a number, basically we approximate a number to give us an approximation of that number. Very, very, very interesting word, approximation. And the first thing we need to know is a number can be approximated by rounding. Okay, for example, if you have 392 students, you can approximate that number by something what we call rounding. Okay, so we round that number, and then a number is rounded to a given place value. Okay, and you will understand that shortly. For example, let's say you have 2,374. I can approximate this to the nearest 100. Okay, and if I approximate that, I say 2,324, I can approximate that to the nearest 100. I will be considering the 3. Okay, and basically let's say I end up with 2,300, or I can approximate that to the nearest 1,000. It will be 2,000. Okay, and we will understand exactly what this is as the lesson progresses. Okay, and then a number can be rounded up or rounded down. For example, the first example that I gave, when you had the number of people, let's say you have 2,070 people or 2,071 people, and you want to round this down, you say about 2,000 people. Basically, your estimate is actually smaller than the actual number. In this case, the number has been rounded down. Okay, and then if you have about 392 students, you round this up to 400. You've basically increased your number. Your estimate is larger than your actual number, and basically you've rounded that number up. Okay, so a number is rounded up or rounded down depending on the value that comes after the given place value. Okay, and basically we will understand this as the lesson progresses. Okay, so depending on the number that comes after the given place value, if you're told to round the number up to a certain place value, to the nearest certain place value, given place value, you it's rounded up or down depending on the number that comes after that value. And if the succeeding value is equal to or greater than 5, okay, so basically when the value after the given place value is equal to or greater than 5, we round this up. Okay, and like you probably guessed, if it's less than 5, we round this down. Okay, So, and then we often round numbers to a given number of decimal places. Okay. And we also round numbers to a given number of significant figures. Now all of this would be clear, all right, as we attempt some examples. Okay, so example 1. An example 1 says round of 2387 to the nearest 100. Now let's break this down. Now the first thing we want to do, we want to round off a number, is we need to identify the place value. And the place value in this case is 100, because we've been told to round it up to the nearest 100. 100 is the given place value in this case. Okay, so we write our number down, okay, and we identify which number is in the 100 place value. At the moment, we have 2387, okay, 1000, 100, tens, and units, and basically we have 3 as our number here. Okay, so 3 is the number we're considering in this question. All right, and then what we need to do is we need to look at the number that comes after 3, i.e. 8 in this case. Okay, and is this number greater than 5 or less than 5? 8 is greater than 5. Okay, and basically the step 2 is where we decide, are we rounding up or rounding down? Now remember what I said, if the number is greater than 5, equal to or greater than 5, you round up. Okay, so in this case we're rounding up, i.e. our answer would be greater, our estimate or our approximation would be a larger number. It will be greater than 2387. And basically when you round up, you simply add 1 to the number in the given place value. So at the moment we have 2 and 3, 2003, and basically this becomes 2400. Okay, so you add 1 to the 3, and the 8 and the 7 become zeros. All right, and that is how you approximate a number to the nearest 100. All right, now let's try another example. Now example 2. And example 2 says round of 22.4215 to the nearest tenth. Okay, now careful, now it did not say 10, it said tenth. And basically if you remember your work from decimals, the tenth place is, what's the tenth place? Okay, let's find out. So we have step 1, we need to identify the place value in question. All right, so the given place value, we're told to round it off to the nearest tenth. I will tell you that your tenth, if you remember from the last lesson, that the number in the tenth place value in this case is 4. Okay, so now that you've identified the number in the given place value, the next thing you need to do is you need to look at the number after it. Okay, and the number after 4 in this case is 2. Okay, now is 2 greater than or less than 5? 2 is less than 5, i.e. we're going to be rounding down. Okay, and our result would actually be less, would actually be a smaller number than our given number. Our estimate would be a smaller number than the number that's given. So when we round this down, we basically leave 4 as it is. Okay, when you're rounding down, you don't add anything, so you leave 4 as it is. If you're rounding up, you add 1 to the number in the given place value, but when you're rounding down, you just leave the number as it is. Okay, I'll say it again. When you're rounding up, you add 1 to the number in the given place value, and when you're rounding down, you just leave the number as it is. Okay, so basically, and then like we did, the 2, the 1, the 5, they become zeros. So what we have is 22.4000, or basically, we don't have 000 on the end in a decimal, so we pretty much just write this as 22.4. And that is how you round off a number to the nearest tenth. Okay, so let's try another example. And example 3 says round of 2.1425 to 3 decimal places. Now this is a new system, so we're not rounding to a given place value, but to a given number of decimal places. So the first thing we need to do, we write down our number, all right, and then it says 3 decimal places. We want to have 3 decimal places, so we count 3 decimal places: 1, 2, 4 and 2. 1, 4, 2. We've counted 3, and that would be our number in question. All right, so that would be the number to consider. We want to round to 3 decimal places. We simply just count 3 decimal places from the decimal point, and we arrive at 2. And just like we've been doing, we would have to decide, are we rounding up or rounding down? And this would depend on the number that comes after 2. The number that comes after the place value in question. So in this case, we have 5 as the number after 2. So is 5 equal to or greater than 5, or is it less than 5? Is equal to 5. And from our law, it says that anytime you have a number that is equal to, remember, equal to or greater than 5, you round up. So now that we have 5, we're actually going to round up. Okay, and to round this up, we basically, remember, we add 1 to 2, okay, and with the 5 that comes after becomes a 0. So what we have is 2.143, and just like we did in the last example, you basically just throw that 0 out, because you usually don't have zeros at the end of decimal numbers. Okay, they don't count. You can write them out, there's nothing wrong with writing them out, but you can pretty much just write your answer down as 2.143 instead of 2.1430. okay, so and that is how you round a number up to a given number of decimal places. Now let's do, I think we have one more example. Example 4. Okay, no, we do have a few more examples. Example 4. And example 4 says round of 2,271 to 3 significant figures. Okay, now significant figures, very interesting concept. Okay, and let's get to it now. What are significant figures? Significant figures are numbers. But there's something basically, you have a figure is a number, all right, but then there's something special about significant figures, and we'll find out sometime soon. Okay, but right now, if you have 3 significant figures, you basically just start from the top there, okay, and you count 3 significant figures. Just basically count 3 figures. All right, so you have the first figure is 2, the second figure is 2, the third figure is 7, and that would be the place value in question. Okay, and basically we look at the number that comes after 7. Are we rounding up or rounding down? We're rounding down. Okay, and what we have in the end is we have 2,270. okay, we leave 7 as it is and 1 becomes a 0. Simple, straightforward. That's pretty much it there. All right, but then if you consider this example 5, and this is where it gets interesting. What if you're asked to round off a number like this? Round off 0.00276 to 2 significant figures. Alright, step 1, you have your number. Again, you're going to count 3 significant figures. So we start, the first significant figure is 0, the second significant figure is 0, the third significant, no, that's wrong. Okay, because when you're looking at a number, the first significant figure is the first non-zero number. Okay, the first number that isn't 0. Okay, because 0 at the start of a number is not a significant figure. Okay, 0 at the start of a number is not a significant figure. So when you're counting your significant figures from the left, you skip all the zeros, so those first 3 zeros go out of the way, and your first significant figure is 2. Okay, and this is where the whole concept of significant figures comes in. Okay, this is where the idea comes in, basically. So the first 3 zeros don't count. Okay, the first significant figure is a number that isn't 0. So we have 2 in this case, and basically we have 2 and 7. So 7, so it says 2 significant figures, You count the first significant figure, you count the second significant figure. The second significant figure is 7, okay, and so the number we would be considering in this case with 7, and then you look at the number after 7. Is it greater than 5 or less than 5? It's actually greater than 5. 6 is greater than 5, so we're rounding up. All right, and then when we round this up, basically we add 1 to the 7, and the 6 becomes a 0, or in this case as a decimal, we pretty much just throw it out, and then what you end up is you have 0.0028. Okay, now let's do our final example, and our final example is actually very interesting. So example 6. And example 6 says round off 0.01028 to 3 significant figures. Okay, so we have 0.01028. Now where do we start counting from? Okay, we don't start counting from the first 0. We skip the first 0, we skip the second 0. Our first significant figure is 1. Okay, so our first significant figure is 1. All right, and then we skip the second. No, we don't. Okay, the only zeros you skip are the zeros that come before a significant figure. After that first significant figure, every 0 that comes after is a significant figure. Okay, so basically you have 0 0. Our first significant figure is 1. All right, and now after that 1, every other number counts, including 0. So the first significant figure is 1, the next significant figure is 0, and the next significant figure is 2. Okay, let's make this clear. When you're working significant figures, the first significant figure is the number that isn't 0. Okay, zeros don't count at the start of the number, so the first 0 does not count, the second 0 does not count. Your first significant figure is 1. Okay, but then after that 1, every other number including 0 counts. All right, so after the 1, after the first significant figure, the next significant figure is 0. This 0 counts. Okay, so if you're going to count the significant figures, you have 1 as your first significant figure, 0 as your second significant figure, and then 2 as your third significant figure. So we have 3 significant figures, and then you look at the number after 2. Okay, it's 8, which would tell you that we will be rounding up. Why? Because 8 is greater than 5. Okay, and then step 3 would simply round that up, and what we end up with is 0.103, and that is how we round off number to significant figures. And that will be the end of this lesson. Okay, that's all for approximation. So we've learned what approximations are about. We've learned how to round up, how to round down, the conditions for rounding up and rounding down, identifying the right place value. We've learned to round off to a given number of decimal places, and we've learned about significant figures. Okay, very interesting concept, significant figures. And yeah, that's the end of this lesson. Okay, and bye for now. I'll see you soon.